The presidency yesterday called to order the Ondo State Governor, Rotimi Akeredolu, senior advocate of Nigeria, over a 7-day ultimatum to cattle herders to vacate the forest in the state following the growing insecurity allegedly perpetrated by them. A statement by Garba Sheikh, who is the senior special assistant to President Muhammadu Buhari, stated that the governor ought not to have taken the unilateral step without consulting widely. It expressed concern that as a legal luminary, Governor Akeredolu could have not unilaterally issued a quit order without taking cognizance of the Constitution that guarantees the right of citizens to movement and live in any part of the country. The statement also called on the government of Ondo State and all the 35 other nationwide to draw clear lines between criminals and law-abiding citizens who must be equally safe from infiltrators. The governor had last Monday ordered the herdsmen to vacate all government forest reserves in the state within 7 days. I mean, this has come home to roost. We've been talking about this for quite a while now, and it has come home to roost. You're seeing activities here and there. You're seeing videos of some sort. I mean, Abby, you want to have a stab at this, then when we take Dr. Abati?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, this decision by Governor Akeredolu he has also mentioned, of course, that these herdsmen have constituted some sort of nuisance. I guess there are quite a number of sides to the story where they're almost masquerading as something else. But it's also been some sort of repetitive, episodes where people have been affected by these situations. And of course, that's the call that he's made on it. That being said, that's also a blanket decision. So, of course, not every herdsman is going to agree and say that I've been masquerading as bad. But more importantly, it's about the effects and what are people in Ondo State facing in this situation that really matters.
Kidnapping. They're facing hurts. Dr. Abati, you want to weigh in on this?
Well, herdsmen-farmers conflict has been part of the major planks of the crisis of insecurity in Nigeria. And one of those issues that the Buhari administration in particular has had to deal with. On account of the conflict between farmers and herdsmen, we've had cases of conflict, of violence, of wanton insecurity from southern Kaduna to Plateau to parts of the Middle Belt, all the way down to the southeast, the south-south, and the southwest. And it was in part responsible for the decision particularly in the southwest, of the governors to come up with their own regional security network, what is called Amotekun. But in spite of that, government has not been able at various levels to deal with this. And the reasons have been given has been historical and also been economic, and we don't need to go into all of that. But Ondo State in particular, which is the very first state where Amotekun was launched in the southwest, has had issues with reports about kidnapping involving herdsmen, all kinds of violence, murder, cases of murder. And it's not just Ondo State, also Oyo State, particularly in Ibarapa North, where we've had cases of conflicts between herdsmen and the Amotekun, and even a Yoruba activist called Sunday Igboho having to wade into the matter. So we all know that there is this security challenge, and again, we have the governors finding themselves under pressure to function as chief security officers in their states. In the case of Ondo State, the Ondo State governor held a meeting with the herdsmen community within the state, and at that meeting, he gave two orders. One, that herdsmen should vacate Ondo State within the next 7 days. He gave an ultimatum. And second, that there should be no movement of cattle on the highways or within the cities in Ondo State. And the governor said, as chief security officer, he has an obligation to protect the people. And that is what the presidency is reacting to. And the position of the presidency is that there has been inconsistency in messaging coming from the Ondo State governor, that in the last 4 years, he has been hands-on in terms of providing security, but that this inconsistency could create a chain of events not anticipated by the framers of the Constitution, and that what is required is restraint and also dialogue. Those were strong words in the statement issued by Garuba Shehu. And then he was talking about the position of the governor being unconstitutional. And I guess in this regard, he's referring to Section 41 of the Constitution, which says that every Nigerian is entitled to freedom of movement in any part of Nigeria, and that no Nigerian can be expelled from any part of Nigeria or stopped from egressing in and out of Nigeria as a free citizen. So if you say herdsmen must leave, then in other words, you are derogating from that their constitutional right under Section 41. The other relevant section of the Constitution is Section 42 of the Constitution, since the presidency is talking about constitutionalism. And it says that every Nigerian, no Nigerian citizen can be discriminated against on the grounds of place of origin, ethnicity, geography, or religion, or in subsection 2, the circumstances of birth. So if you say you are expelling people, and then you are attaching it to the nature of the person's work, then of course you are violating Section 42. Garuba Shehu's strongest argument, which I think is valid, is that, look, we should be able to separate criminals, bad elements, and not, create an ethnic template. Because even when you see most of the reports assume that every herdsman is a Fulani person. And so there's that labeling template. And if you do that, of course, then it could, create some other things. But what the federal government needs to do is to cooperate with the affected states, I think. Because in the case of Oyo State, in Ibarapa North, the report we get is that the Fulani community there says that, it's their man that is in power, and that nobody can dictate to them, that only the president can dictate to them. Now, that kind of rhetoric creates problems. So we would like to see a situation whereby the federal government can assist at various levels, both at the level of communal engagement and also in terms of providing the required security, because where your right begins, where your right stops is where mine begins. Yeah. And we cannot live in a community whereby we are trampling over each other. So that is the Nigerian challenge. And, the presidential statement says the president before now had opposed the decision by IPOB, the indigenous peoples of Biafra, to expel northerners from the east. Well, that is also consistent, as was pointed out in that statement, with the decision of the presidency to defend the right of the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto, Reverend Father Matthew Hazan Kuka, to express himself and to do his work, apostolic work in Sokoto without any form of harassment. At the level of principles, all of that is fine. But the problem that we have in Nigeria is that those constitutional provisions are often observed in breach, and there are fault lines within the Nigerian arrangement that make it difficult for people to live together in harmony. And so the buck stops at the end of the day, at the desk of the Nigerian leadership to make sure that we do not just quote the Constitution when it is convenient to do so. But clearly, there are security issues, not just in Ondo State or your state, but in every part of the country that government will need to continue to focus on for the purpose of harmonious living within the Nigerian territory.
I mean, like Dr. Abati, you always say you can't be more correct. And
that's Professor Akindele.
You can't be more correct because it's really, really important we deal with these issues. That's all on news headlines. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Michael Wilson, Salah Wulawi, Aaron Akiriola to give us updates on Africa global business, COVID-19 and sporting activities. Stay with us. Right, welcome back to the morning show right here on the Rise News channel. We're going to take business update now. Michael Wilson joins us from London. It's a pleasure having you, Michael. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, Janet Yellen, I told you about yesterday, and she did exactly as was required as far as saying what she said she was going to say, and the markets actually liked that. But she did stress that an immediate rapprochement with China is off the table, and signalling that China tariffs will remain untouched. So that's the headline, really, which is guiding the markets this morning. The equity markets in Asia, yeah, they did to get record levels, but you can't help thinking that they're being fairly pragmatic about this. And there's a general warning and a general feeling that the relationship between the United States with the new president in China is not going to be put right, whatever you think is right, directly or within the next few days. China left its main lending rate unchanged. PBOC, People's Bank of China, we guess is going to be likely concerned with the increase in COVID cases, of which more slightly later. Alibaba founder Jack Ma has surfaced again. Remember, he was out of the spotlight because of those critical comments he made about China's financial authorities. Well, that means that he was quiet for a while. He's come out. It was a charity event, but he has been seen in public. He didn't say anything, as far as I can make out, particularly controversial this time around. Now, that new wave of COVID-19 cases in China has been triggering transport restrictions, and it's also been crimping the steel production in the region. Now, whether you care about that doesn't matter, but as far as the international markets are concerned, that means less raw materials going to China, and that's always a problem in these days of doubt about global growth. So back to the United States and Janet Yellen, and what she was actually saying was she confirmed the 1.9 trillion dollar stimulus story. The markets actually probably quite like that. I have to say, though, that if you talk to people in the United States, as I've been doing earlier this morning, the fact of the matter is they're not worried about bond issuance to keep this kind of money, this cheap money flowing into the economy. What they're worried about are the things that civilized countries should be worried about. Number one, food inequality, which is huge in the United States, and also livelihoods of people, part of the American dream, isn't it? That you go there for a job. And of course, a clamp down on hate speech, which has been a big part of divisions in the United States during the Trump era. A lot of work to do domestically. Take you on to Netflix, a huge success for them in terms of subscriber numbers. Fell this time in the first couple of quarters of the year, but that's actually straight back. And obviously we've been, back to the television and so on in lockdown, and it expected revenues to come in at $6.57 billion. So that was enough to send the shares up sharply after the market had closed. UK and the UK government has unveiled plans to support the fishing industry. About £2.3 billion. It'll help firms whose exports to the EU have fallen sharply because of the trade restrictions at the moment. And also, UK pop stars are out of tune with the EU. Some of the UK's biggest pop stars have actually written to the government demanding action to ensure that they have visa-free concert travel in Europe, including Sir Elton John, Liam Gallagher, Nicola Benedetti, among 110 artists who are complaining about that. Finally, commodities, oil and gold, rising a little bit, both of those on the Yellen testimony, but nothing actually to drive you wondering that you want to actually worry about those too much. Gold still in its relatively tight range, oil improving very slightly. That's your global view.
All right. Well, okay.
Well, I wanted to draw attention to two quick things. One, the essay in the Daily Mail today by Theresa May, probably our most strident attack on Boris Johnson yet, is she's complaining about Boris Johnson lowering the credibility, the integrity of the United Kingdom in the eyes of the world. And she talks about cutting back on foreign aid. She talks about trying to violate international negotiations during the Brexit negotiations. And she says this is now an opportunity with a turnaround in the United States to make Britain global again. She's also critical of outgoing President Trump, and she thinks that the United Kingdom now has a good opportunity to get back into its place in the world, not for historical purposes, but in terms of concrete actions. I would like to have your thoughts, what you think about the criticism from Theresa May. Not that she has been a fan of Boris Johnson in any case. And then Janet Yellen. Yes, she has the support of former Treasury secretaries who have all written to support her, and her confirmation looks more or less like a done deal. But what do you think of what she's saying about tax, more tax on unrealized capital gains and how the market is reacting to that. And then also an argument that the dollar will be determined by market forces and that big spending, particularly for COVID stimulus package, is more important than any worry about debt burden. As an indication of the direction in which the Biden administration will go, what are your thoughts?
First of all, as far as Theresa May is concerned, she's right, of course, but then again, everybody's right about that. She got paid a lot of money for her article, no doubt, in the Daily Mail. Criticism of Boris Johnson, yes, why not? That's what prime ministers are for. Britain taking its rightful place in the world again. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Certainly not. We're out of the EU. We have to make our own way, and we have to convince our allies that we're on their side. Now, where do we fit in with the big rapprochement, which ought to happen between the United States and China? I think that is the major way forward. Theresa May would criticise Boris Johnson politically because she was ousted by him, or at least by her party, and then he came into power. So I would expect her to say all those kind of things. It'll tie in very well with the readers of the Daily Mail, who are generally conservative with a large C and also a small c, and very much to the right of opinion in this country. I think that we do need to find our way in the world. But as I say, there's no such thing as a free lunch. We'll have to earn it. As far as Janet Yellen's concerned, as I said to you, I think that really, yeah, we can talk till the cows come home about the support she's getting from previous Treasury secretaries. We can talk about the support that the markets are giving her. The markets, if you remember, actually didn't pay a great deal of attention to increase taxes and so on. They were interested in the stimulus package. If that goes towards each American and it's $1,400 in the pocket, and the older generation of Americans, the silver surfers, don't just decide to save it but spend it, then it'll be okay. However, the main problems in the United States, nothing to do with fancy financial calculations, quite simply create jobs and end this food problem that they have in the United States. No proper economy in the world should have people starving in the way that the United States does, nor should it have a disparity between the rich and the poor to such an extent that the United States has. Those are the things that Janet Yellen, she can't actually cure that, but Biden could, by helping her to put the money in the right direction, commanding her to put the money in the right direction, might help along those kind of lines. That's what I feel about it.
Right, great one there. But I've got questions for you. I mean, it's easy to say Theresa May's article was sour grapes. It's easy to say that. But let me put this to you. The Scottish fishermen and the fishermen all over Britain are saying that they were dealt a blow, that they were given let me use the word, a snake oil salesman deal. They lied to them. Invariably, the minister in charge of fisheries in the UK was saying she didn't even see the deal that went to the EU. That deal has got a name for it. It's called a bonkers deal. The fisheries department, they've done a bonkers deal. An average fisherman in the UK is worse off for it. So what do they get there? And this was Boris Johnson's deal. Where is integrity in all of this? Because it's so easy to say Theresa May is all talking sour grapes, but he's ruined people's lives. What's your reaction to this?
As far as fisheries are concerned, very small part of the economy, if you want to be realistic about it. The fact of the matter is that, yes, they have had, they were used as a political football within the end of the Brexit deal. No question about that. That's politics for you. And also, there is this problem that we have at the moment between the disintegration of the United Kingdom as far as Scotland's concerned. So a political move to try to appease what's happening in fisheries. But as I've said to you before, my fridge is not full of fish. My fridge has got meat in it. You know, we eat fish, and it's an important symbolic part of the UK because we are an island nation, but it's not a big part of our economy. And if you're actually putting the slide rule across what you need to do, then you calculate a number of things. A, how big is it part of the economy? B, what are the voters thinking about it? Now, there are a lot of fisheries in the north part of England, and that was part of the country that gave a lot of support to Boris Johnson in the past election. He is a politician. He will have taken that decision quite deliberately. That's what politicians do. I still feel as though Theresa May, she's she's saying the most obvious things. You know, of course it would be lovely if we took our rightful place in the world, but we have to earn it. You can't just give it to somebody. It has to be done by making things that people want to buy, entering markets, coming to agreement with countries bilaterally if necessary, rather than under the cover of the EU. That's the task ahead. It's very difficult, no question.
Michael, very quickly, please. I just wanted to go back to Janet Yellen and in terms of her general outlook on the U.S.'s fiscal trajectory. Now, in spite of the amount of support she's getting, how valid would you say her outlook is in terms of affecting the average American?
Sorry, do you mean fiscal or do you mean monetary?
Fiscal,
if you mean fiscal
specifically, please. Yeah.
Okay, fiscal is about taxes, so that's what you're asking me. Okay, just to be clear. So Janet Yellen, and there's no question that they will have to raise taxes within the United States. No question about that. When they do it and how long this quantitative easing will actually last, that is the big question. But she will know how to navigate these waters because she did it before after the financial crisis. I suspect, though, once again, there's tax and then there's spending. The actual spending that needs to take place and this filling the back pockets of Americans with cash is probably, one hopes, going to work. Whether it will or not, I don't know. We'll see. We'll no doubt be talking about this in the future. But she was not. She was saying what the markets wanted to hear. The stimulus package is going ahead. The markets decided to ignore what she was saying about higher taxes because there's no question about that. Two things certain in life: taxes and death. You're right.
Anyway, I mean, great insights there. But just about politicians, I'm sure that's why the famous Dennis Skinner would always call politicians very dodgy. And dodgy, that's what they do every time. But thank you so much for your time, Michael. Really appreciate you. For updates on COVID-19 pandemic, Abby is here. Abby, great to have you.
Thank you, Rufai.
Yeah. All right, we've got a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk some more. It's more than a pleasure having you back to the Rise News channel. And we've got Abby Olawi here with everything COVID-19 update. Thank
you, Rufai. We begin in the U.S., where several national public health officials received their second doses of the coronavirus vaccine. Now, California public health officials have paused the administration of about 330,000 doses of the Moderna vaccine as they investigate reports of a higher than usual number of severe allergic reactions to the drug. In South Africa, as the country confronts a second wave of COVID-19 infections, scientists say that new evidence indicates that at least a quarter of the country's population, and possibly even more than a third, may already have been affected by the virus during the first wave, which peaked in July. South Africa's unusually high infection rates, potentially far higher than in some European nations after the first waves, appears to have been accompanied by an uncommonly low death rate, with early data from one province suggesting that the COVID-19 mortality rate was less than half than experienced in the worst-hit countries. Scientists, however, warn that the preliminary figures could go up and down as more data becomes available in the coming weeks. And in Nigeria, the NCDC's Infection Prevention and Control Team is conducting a 3-day COVID-19 response training for frontline health workers in Nasarawa State. Participants are trained on the use of evidence-based IPC educational materials and training resources with the support of Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance.
Well, the figures continue to go up in Nigeria, consistently above 1,000. The last figure that was reported in the last 24 hours is about 1,301. And Lagos State remains consistently the epicenter, with, I think, the last reported number of cases about 551. And generally in Nigeria, we have had, reported cases of about a total of 113 over 200,000 cases. And of course, the death ratio is over 1,400. Well, we keep focusing on Nigeria because, again, of what is happening in other parts of the world and how we're treating the matter in Nigeria. The UK variant, the mutation, the mutant variant, we're told has been reported in about 60 countries. The South African variant has been reported in 23 countries. And you see many of these countries, including China, also taking proactive measures to see what can be done to protect their people. Now, to come back to Nigeria, I think an interesting development yesterday would seem to be that of the Lagos State governor, Lagos State, the epicenter, going forward to address the people of the state in a very robust statement. And he pointed out very clearly that the infection rate in Lagos continues to go up so badly that the state government is now considering reopening those previously shut down isolation centers, including the Ondo Center and also the Bagada Isolation Center. And that the Infectious Diseases Hospital in Yaba has recorded an increase in demand for oxygen. Previously, they used to administer about 70 cylinders of oxygen per day, but that now has gone up to about 350 cylinders in terms of demand per day. And he gave the frightening revelation that could double, increase to about 700, 750 cylinders of oxygen, per day in Lagos State alone. And that clearly is an illustration of how serious the crisis is in the epicenter. He talks about the Lagos State government setting up an oxygen plant in Yaba already, and also 10 oxygen clinics in about 10 different locations. And now local governments' efforts have been made to make sure that local governments provide initial care with oxygen before people are taken to the isolation centers. But the whole purport, implication of the statement by the Lagos State governor is that, look, we face a very serious situation, particularly in Lagos, and that people have to take responsibility for their own lives, and that people should not wait till a mild case becomes severe before they take advantage of the phone lines, 0800 ECOMED, which he says, is where you seek help. But clearly, I was happy with the fact that the Lagos State government has been able to sanction over 350 people, according to the governor. Over 35 clubs and event centers and entertainment centers have been shut down as part of the efforts of the Lagos State government to ensure that people comply, because compliance with protocols and guidelines continues to be a major challenge for those working on COVID-19 in Nigeria. However, he says that private sector is being mobilized. We hope that works out very well. And he says that the Lagos State government is already talking to vaccine manufacturers to provide, to see if Lagos State can get its own vaccines. We hope that will happen, but we need more details. What kind of vaccine is Lagos State looking at? How would the funding be operationalized? But definitely, the residue of it all is that we all need to realize, whether we're in the UK or we're in South Korea or we're in Greece or we're in the United States, which has the highest number of deaths. And also, Mexico is also recording more deaths. For people to realize that, look, COVID-19 is real and humanity may have to live with it almost on a permanent basis as we live with the influenza.
That's just it. Simple, straight, short, to the point. Do what's right. Max up. Face mask is way better than an oxygen mask. Don't forget that. You could lose your life from COVID.